Welcome to White Chocolate Podcast. We go. All systems go.
Yeah, we're here. Another
I
night.
always act like it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like we pause when we do this podcast and we're here.
I'm glad you take a pause. That's good for breathing. It's
It
good
is.
for...
Well, maybe it's because the kids are sleeping. I don't know, but
probably not. But...
I don't know, but Club Studio, Club Kitchen, let's go. We have another guest. Another guest. There's something about having...
It's the best, actually.
Having a guest is the best.
I mean, we're okay, but like when we have a guest, I feel like it takes it up a notch.
Yeah, I mean, it elevates the white chocolate effect because white chocolate, we want it to ooze out.
What?
In more ways than not. But anyways, hi Kai, welcome.
Please land the plane.
The guests that we have today. I'm just trying to give it a nice intro. I don't know. Maybe it's just been a long week, but we have in the studio
the one, the only.
The one. He is a man.
A man's man.
Man's man, but he knows how to camp.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to take care of his family if something goes south.
Yeah.
He's a truck man.
Yep.
He looks really fresh on Sunday mornings.
Yep.
He is the one that introduced me to man camp and said, hey, why don't you come with me the first time? And I was a loser and I didn't go.
But now
I'm
on the
going
train
again and so I'm excited to have on.
And he's also a prayer warrior.
He is a prayer warrior. He's a youth pastor. We have
former, yeah.
Yes. So welcome, Michael.
We need like the
or we call you Mike, and I always get your last name wrong. Krasinza.
Dear heavens.
Cozina.
Oh my gosh, Cozina. Please forgive me, Mike. Welcome
to the pod.
Welcome.
Yeah. It's nice to be here on the White Chocolate Podcast. Club Kitchen.
Club Kitchen.
What a crazy intro.
Let's go.
You have been listening. Have you been listening to us?
I've been listening for about 4 or 5 months. About 4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Well, we've been. This is year 2 of it.
Yep.
Yeah, we're in year 2.
This is the 40th episode.
That's crazy.
So you're on the 40.
Yeah, this is the wrap up of season 4.
Season 4,
nice.
40th episode. How are you today, Mike?
Good. It's been a good Sunday. Church this morning and did some outdoor things at home. And
do you like this weather?
It could be a little bit warmer.
Some people like the 65, 70 teeter-tottering. I'm like, let's just go in. It's June.
Let's go deep. Let's go 85,
all day.
88. I'm down.
88?
Yeah.
100?
No, that was too far.
No, okay. Oh, man. So, Mike, it's cool about you. Like, I've been going to our church for a number of years, and I think you were part of our church for a while, and then you went to a different church, done some different things, and you came back. I just remember when I first got to know you, it was super intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I really appreciate you, Mike. And so it's just cool getting to know you, knowing you through joining with you to man camp and coming back with that experience. And it's really cool. So welcome, man. We're so...
Yeah. So I remember it was probably about latter part of 2017 to 2018 when I met you guys.
Yeah.
You guys were coming in just fresh. And
yeah, gosh.
my wife and I and some of the kids were teens at the time. We were transitioning into a calling to be youth pastors at another church. And it was a bold step. Well, we did it and ventured 4 years. And then the journey brought us back home and back with you guys again. So,
man, it's so funny how things come back around. Kind of little icebreaker questions before we get into where we're going tonight. Are you a white chocolate fan?
I'm a fan of the white chocolate.
Are you serious?
Like the chocolate?
Oh, yeah. I can get down with some white chocolate.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time you've had white chocolate?
Are you being actually serious?
Oh, yeah. Last time I had a good piece of white chocolate Mackinac Island.
Really?
Last August. Like, you got to go up there and they make it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I'd like that.
I respect it, but like I've never met someone that actually liked it.
Well, Kai, maybe we need to go explore and try some different. We can't limit the one experience. You can't limit one experience.
So there's 2 places you can go. You can go to Frankenmuth, Michigan.
I've heard great things.
And they make it fresh.
I like
or
that.
you can go to Mackinac Island.
Oh, wow.
And make it fresh.
Okay, I like those recommendations.
Start with like Godiva.
Godiva.
I'm down there at the mall.
The chocolatier people or whatever.
Like maybe.
Oh, geez.
That's how
could be a good date night. Good date day.
I appreciate
Good
that.
getaway.
We'll just go try some chocolates.
But like Frankenmuth is like Christmas time all year round, yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
Plus white chocolate.
I dig that.
But it's got to be fresh. I don't do Hershey's bagged white chocolate.
It's sitting there.
Yeah.
Has expiration dates.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kai always likes to ask your other question.
So you're going with your family to get some ice cream. What's the flavor or go-to for you?
Oh, it's cookie dough blizzard, man. Extra cookie dough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cookie dough blizzard.
You brought home cookie dough the other night, and I'm like, oh, I love cookie dough, but Private Selection did not serve me well.
If you're getting cookie dough from the store, it's Ben & Jerry's all day.
Ben & Jerry's. Okay.
Are you going to go to the Ben & Jerry's place down the street here? We have a new Ben & Jerry's.
There is a new one
Did
down
you know
the street.
that?
I did not know that.
See?
Yeah.
Not crazy. There's a new one coming in down the street. Anyway, sorry.
Nice.
Let's get into it. Let's
All
go.
right. So coming up, obviously, it is a new month, which is crazy. It's June.
It is June.
And what I love about June is there's Father's Day coming up.
Yeah, right in the middle.
And I'm sorry, hon, we
It's okay.
didn't do a Mother's Day
There's always next
podcast, but
Lord willing.
maybe we'll come back around and talk about motherhood, how important that is, of course.
Of course.
And so I thought, Mike, with fathers and your heartbeat and how I've gotten to know you and your story, I thought, what about having you on and seeing firsthand, because you're older than me, you've had some seasons and you've had grown kids, you have a young kid, you have a cool, unique story to tell. I thought, hey, let's just bring you on. Let's just have a conversation about it and learn about the heart of a father and how the heart of God really is being a father to us. And so that's where we're kind of going tonight. And that's where we're kind of see what God wants to take us today.
Yeah.
So
Let's start with the story.
yeah. So
Let's let him talk.
yeah. So maybe tell us your upbringing and where you're coming from in terms of like your relationship with your dad.
Yeah. So I'm from traditional home. Mom and dad, one brother who's older than me. Grew up in the east side of Toledo.
No way. You an 05er?
Yeah, 05er.
What?
Wait, high school.
Come on.
Go Indians.
Oh.
Wow.
Basic life. Mom worked at the bank. Dad was a diesel mechanic. I wrestled, played baseball. Pretty much your normal stuff. Go down to the park, play football and whatnot. Upbringing was mostly Catholic background.
Okay.
Really wasn't into it. Really didn't understand it. But yeah, it was a pretty good childhood. Mostly involved sports, and dad worked hard and mom picked up the slack. Spiritual value wasn't really there, so I wouldn't say that I was a follower of Christ or a believer until I was 29, 30 years old.
29, 30 years old.
Yeah. So, that was a difficult journey. Looking back now to where we are, a lot of things I missed out on, a lot of things that I wish that I would have been able to cover. But yeah, dad's a good dude. He was there, hard worker. But a lot of things looking back, I learned from my grandfather. Yeah. Yeah. So, Papa was World War II vet.
Oh, wow.
Grew up in the Great Depression. Grandma didn't work ever a job. She tended to the farm and whatnot like that. But yeah, Grandpa, and then he was a truck driver for a long time. I remember when I was a kid, Roadway Express. So I learned a lot from him. I leaned a lot on him and growing up. So yeah, man.
I like that. For you, in those stories and how you've grown up, when you think about the word fatherhood, and where that lines up, what does that mean for you?
Fatherhood, that's a heavy load, especially in this day and age, this climate we live in now. Back in the day, traditional was you had your dad, your father, and then your grandfather, and of course you had probably some uncles and stuff that came by, or maybe an older cousin. But the ones you leaned on was your dad and your grandfather. And nowadays you got foster parents, foster father, stepfather, dad. Maybe you got so many single fatherless homes that you have a grandfather that picks up the slack, or an uncle, or even an older brother may have to jump in there. So fatherhood it's a heavy load. It's a man that steps in and takes the role of provider, protector, rearing a child for adulthood and taking them through all the stages of life. And whether they're blood or not blood, taking that role on and filling the spot. So.
I like that. Can you tell us when you first became a father? What was that like?
I was 21.
21.
21.
All right. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So I was 21. I was doing a little bit of college and
did you do sports in college at all?
Yeah, I played baseball for University of Toledo for a season and a half.
Nice.
And then child came along.
Yeah.
So had to make a choice there. So I had a daughter, and I all excited. Yes, daughter. Yep, amazing. This is gonna be awesome. And so going through that period, and then all of a sudden, boom, here's child, and you're like, whoa.
Was that a planned thing, or was that a
nope. Okay. Nope, she was not planned. Me and her mother were not married. We were boyfriend and girlfriend. So lived together, knew each other from school and whatnot. Okay. So we made the best of what we could.
Absolutely.
So yeah, going in to my first child, my daughter, kind of winged it.
Yeah. What was like your was it like, oh, I just want to replicate what my dad did or what my grandfather did? Like, did you have those thoughts of like, how am I going to navigate this?
Yeah, so there was quite a few mixtures. You kind of have a plan in your head, and it's all puffy clouds and rainbows and whatnot, but you're not ready for the storm clouds, the diapers and the teething and the the stuff like that. So I tried to model the best I could what my dad did, what my grandfather did. And it was different mostly because both my grandfather, the way they grew up, and my dad, the mother took care of while the man worked and did his thing. So I was on two ends of the spectrum for that and trying to do it. But worked through a lot of things, and then started talking to people that had daughters and sons, and tried to connect that. And even to the point of knowing that I had a cousin, female cousin to see what my uncle did with his daughter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you have community or anything around you? Did you feel supported, not feel supported? Like, how did you navigate just like the support aspect of it?
There was some support, but mostly on my daughter's mother's side, and not for me, more for her.
Yeah.
So, I changed diapers and did those things and education and whatnot like that. But most of it was pushed to her mother at that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you were like, okay, was there like a big shocking moment that you found out like, oh, I'm having a child? Was that a big thing?
Yeah. So that was it actually was a big deal. So my grandfather, like going into that, I believe it was around December 98. My grandfather had a massive heart attack, and then he died that evening.
Wow.
But I found out a week later that my daughter's mother was pregnant. And,
Oh, wow.
A week later.
Yeah.
Wow.
A week. It was about a week to the day, and it kind of brought a sense of relief to see one pass and then a life given.
Yeah.
So at that time,
Wow.
So you're in college, you're pursuing baseball, you're having a daughter, and you're dealing with some of that stuff. Did something like dawn on you like, okay, how am I going? Did you continue school? Did you drop out of school, or what kind of things did you do?
Yes.
Moving on.
So I had a small house on the east side, and I would commute, and so I was in school a bit, trying to play some ball because I mean that was my jam.
Yeah.
Baseball was my thing. I had to make a choice. It was pay. I didn't have a full ride. I didn't have anything like that. But walked on, made the team. Was trying to do some business education and work a masonry job.
No way.
And hold a house down that I bought because I refused to rent when I was, so I had to make a choice, and I decided that raising a child was more important than that. And with the skills that I picked up in high school and stuff, I could, go about being a mason, being in construction, and doing those things and raise a family.
Did you ever think, like, once you had your daughter, it was like, did you ever think there is a God? I mean, you kind of grew up Catholic. Did you ever make that connection early on in those early years? I know you said you didn't probably jump until 30, but was there some, like, God just sprinkling some things along the way?
So looking back now, yes, for sure. Then, so
I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, not cool, but just a grandfather. And then the week later, you found out, I feel like that's God just like, hey,
so like in Catholic Church, you would go to what they would call CCD. You would go there on
what's that?
It's like kind of like youth group, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wednesday nights was like the thing back in the day. Like that's like an untouched day is Wednesdays, but now it's like
okay.
So it was like your Christian development. Children's Christian development, I think is what it stood for.
Okay.
I think so.
Something like that, Catholic development, one of them things. But it was like your Sunday school, but you would fill out all these things, and I would excel in it. But then later on in life, as I got towards a teenager, at that time, I was a huge history buff, like everything, history, World War II, all that type of stuff. And that's what it was geared at. Like, so I had a knowledge of God, but I didn't believe. Like, I didn't have a relationship. I knew something was there, and I knew they talked about stuff like that. Like, life, ends, a life could be given, So at that point I was like, well, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
My grandfather passes, and a week later I find out that I'm gonna have a child.
Mm.
So yeah, it kind of sparked some things, but I really didn't act on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
You didn't connect the dots there.
yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. So Mike, so you have your first daughter, and then what happens next? What happened next for you within that next few years, you would say?
Yeah, so had her in September of '99, and I'm working, and then so I'm working towards a journeyman's card, and I was fortunate enough to play adult league softball,
That's fine.
and one of my hunting buddies got talking to me that played on softball team, and he said, what are you doing for your job? What are you doing? I said, well, working about 65 hours a week. I'm doing masonry and was pouring foundations for pools and houses and stuff like that. And he was like, well, what kind of insurance do you have? And I said, well, I don't. I pay everything medical. And he said, with a child coming, a daughter coming, you're going to have to do something. So he was assistant terminal manager at American Freightways, which is now FedEx Freight, and said, come get a job. Come get a job. I'll get you insurance. I'm not going to make you wait the 90 days. I'll get you started right now.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
All right.
I'm just a dude, trying to make it, doing what I know how to do. It's like going back to my dad, we went to church, but dad wasn't involved. He was, fall asleep in the pew, all that type of stuff. Go because your mom said so.
Yeah.
So I did that. When he got the job, got insurance, started working there. I was, started working on the dock, and then I went out in the yard, what they call a yard switcher, and started moving trailers around because they said, if you do this, we can give you a CDL and you can become a truck driver.
Yeah.
And I said, do I have to pay for it? And they're like, sign your contract. If you get in the program and do it, and you're down. Well, going on year 25, I'm at FedEx, and because of that opportunity. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So then family, you have more kids, you get married, or tell me more.
So, there was, we didn't get married. We almost did the engagement, and then wanted to get married in the Catholic Church. She wanted to, kind of was geared that way. Went through the classes, and and then after that I was like, I can't do this. And we kind of went our separate ways. Well, she lived around, we went our separate ways, and then it was now through the court system.
Okay.
Yep. So jumped immediately into that. My daughter was 1. I think shortly after she turned 1, we separated and did our own things, so.
Gotcha.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
That's hard on you.
Yeah. Heavy load. Really no support system. YouTube or podcasts weren't out at that time.
No.
No.
I wasn't a very big reader. I mean, a lot of stuff I did was the Cliff Notes type of stuff to get by.
Yes. Spark Notes, man.
Full disclosure, I had reading comprehension problems, so I did what I could to get by. I knew physical labor was my jam. I knew how to do that. But asking questions with parents was not all there,
Yeah.
So
Jump me to what happens when you turn 29, 30.
Yeah.
So right now, you've been speaking early probably your early 20s, but jump me to how you met the Lord.
Oh, wow. So in between that time, I have another child.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, this time's a son. So let's see. Yeah, I'm 20, about 28, 27, 28.
Right.
And so I think I'm doing pretty good for myself. Still not in church, still not, doing that stuff. Do I believe something's there? Yeah. But there's something there.
Yeah.
Like I'm not full blown atheist or anything like that, because I'm not angry. Because I really don't know. Pursuing my relationship with my daughter.
Yeah.
So going through the court system to continue to fight for it, that was one thing I knew, that I'm gonna fight to be a dad.
Yeah.
Because that goes back to my dad's upbringing, where his dad, they had no relationship, zero. So from his high school days on, back in the 60s, Vietnam era. So I didn't even know my dad's dad, my grandfather on that side.
Okay.
Until like, I think that was like 6 years ago before he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was all hidden, a lot of things like that. So I'm navigating through this, and now a son's born, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to get better. She'll have a brother.
Mm-hmm.
This relationship probably will work. So we end up getting married. And then it seemed like after that, things went downhill. Job situations with her, different criminal things would come up, stuff like that. So I'm taking care of my son, my daughter, trying to do this, battle both these things. And one day I find myself going to jail.
Wow.
Yeah. So
do you remember that specific day or time? Was it
yeah. So
I mean, I just can't imagine.
So I was at my wit's end, and just wore out. Working a job, driver. I'm working nights, trying to take care of.
Doing nights, brother.
I'm trying to take care of an infant son, 6 to 7-year-old daughter that I have shared time with, all that. Pay child support, pay a house. So one of the things I do when I don't want to argue or talk, I shut down and I go outside. And she followed me outside, and it was a loud yelling match, and the neighbors heard it, and I got hauled off for disorderly conduct and disturbing the peace. And so I went down to Lucas County lockup. Spent the night there, and I'd never been to jail. Been outside of it, never seen anything. So the best way I can describe this is, they take me upstairs. I have no clue what's going on, if I'm going to see my kids again over a yelling match, and I'm laying on this cot, and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm looking around, and I go, what is all this stuff around here? He goes, well, those are your violent offenders. You're just here because you're going to go to court, and you should be out tomorrow. I said, oh, okay. And he says, hey, bro, I would leave your boots on if I were you. I had a nice pair of Doc Marten work boots on at that time, and so I'm laying on this cot, a plastic toddler cot, man.
Oh, wow.
And a holy wool blanket, and I'm staring at this hole in the wall with a flickering light. It was like a horror movie. It was like, I think Saw, the horror movie Saw, had just came out, and that's what it reminded me of.
Wow.
So I laid there all night, and I was laying there, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know who these people were. I had one phone call, and I had to leave a voice message. And so I'm laying there, and I couldn't tell you what time it was. I know it was wee hours of the morning. And I said, God, if you're real, I said, and you get me out of this, I'll give all this stuff up.
Mm.
I'll follow you for the rest of my life.
Wow.
I didn't know of altar calls. It still hits me today.
Yeah.
You know, no, raise your hand and you're a part of the family. I had never experienced any of that type of stuff, and
wow.
So, yeah. So the next day I go to court, man, and all charges are dropped.
Stop playing. Wow.
I was asked by the public defender why I was there.
Wow.
So I leave, get picked up, and go home, do my business, call my work. I still have a job. Yeah, you're good. Come on. And I started packing my things. Packed my things, and I told her that this is over with. And I'm going on a different path for myself and for these kids.
Wow.
And I did give it one shot. I said, if you want to give it a shot, I'm willing to. I said, but other than that, I'm out.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then I met my wife. My wife of going on 16 years this June.
Yeah.
And I knew her from high school, first grade. We grew up down the street.
Oh,
it's always the girl down the street.
Girl down the street.
It's always that one.
Come on, brother.
Yeah. And that's a crazy story because I always wanted to date her and everything in high school. And
you guys same age, you said?
So she's a year older than I.
Oh,
yeah.
A little.
Yeah.
Slow.
Yeah.
Man, Mike, thanks for sharing that vulnerability. I felt like when you're showing your story to us, I felt, as I'm just like, okay, how would it have been in your shoes? Okay. Like you're from Toledo, East Side, somewhat, decent relationship with folks. God is, kind of in the picture, but not really relevant, maybe. And then, you're learning hard work, the value of that. You're kind of guy that just, I would say you're kind of simple, but, you work hard. I mean, playing baseball, like being able to play baseball, that's a hard sport to get into, especially collegiately, I would like to think. And then, you have a relationship, you have this daughter, and you have a sounds like a great grandpa that, your grandfather passes away, and then you find out you're gonna have a daughter, and then you're just kind of it looks like you're kind of maybe surviving a little bit, trying to just figure it out at an age of 21, right? And then it just seems like these kind of hurdles. It just seemed like a grind as I'm just hearing your story. Would that be a way to kind of summarize?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it real good there, JP. Because there was times where I was just going to check out. Like, I wasn't going to commit suicide or anything.
Yeah.
I was just going to move as far away as I could. Just mail it in. You got visitation and child support, and you're doing this, and you get in trouble one time, and you're trying to be the best. And
yeah.
When you first have kids, you don't ever picture any of that stuff, So, and then knowing my father's background, I was like, I don't want to repeat any of that.
Oh.
Like, I mean, there was abuse and stuff like that in his past. And I'm like, I don't want any of that. I want to be different.
Yeah.
I love my father, but I don't want to be him.
Yeah.
I want to be me.
Yeah.
And do my thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, so life changed, man. And 2009, life changed like full on. I started believing.
Did you run back to the Catholic Church, or did you find a new church? Or
no, the Catholic Church was out. And I mean, the Catholic Church was out when I was like 14 or 15. And that all happened over a question. we were forced to go to confession before Easter, and so I go to confession. Yes, I'm a rebellious teen, but I simply asked the priest, I said, "Why are you behind this curtain? Why can't I see you?" And I said, "Why do I have to call you father? Mine's sitting out there."
Mm.
And then the bomb. How's the skinny guy on that cross getting me anywhere?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because I didn't know. It was a history lesson, man.
Yeah.
And so he takes me out there to my father, and Dad's like, "What's going on?" Oh, he's asked some rude questions. My dad didn't know how to answer. And
Oh, wow.
So I refused to go to church.
Okay.
Thank God for a praying grandfather.
Come on.
Didn't know it until like I was 18 or 19, but grandfather had a Pentecostal background and
Really?
he was a prayer.
Really?
And I remember a time, it was old school when the phones recorded and stuff. So my mom is literally on a Sunday morning, "Dad, tell him to get up out of bed." Like, not talking to my dad, like called my grandfather, right? And I hear him say, "Karen, leave him alone or he will never go back.
Wow.
He will never enter a church. He will never do nothing. Don't force him." And I can still hear him say it.
Yeah.
So that kind of led me down the path. And then when me and my wife got together, I knew from her childhood and stuff growing up, she was a bus kid. And I always wanted to go on a bus.
To school.
To church.
To
Church, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so it was when our church, Life Chapel, started. There was a bus ministry, and she was picked up, and that's how her family started going.
No way.
Wow.
But like, there was other high schoolers in the neighborhood that were my friends that went.
Yeah.
And I seen how much fun they had. And but my mom didn't agree with the church, so I couldn't go.
Man.
Really?
Yeah. So when we got together, one of the first things I said to her was, "Do you still go to that church? Is that church still around?"
Wow.
And she's like, "Yeah, my mom and dad go. My sisters go."
No way.
I was like, "Can we check it out?"
Oh my, Mike. That is a powerful testimony, man. Just like the full like circle of like the girl down the street, seeing her get in the school church bus, and she's like, and there's this
That's spiritually
life.
hot.
That's spiritually hot, by the way. It's like,
That's a Joel term.
listen, I wish I gotta copyright that, but and then just those memories of just seeing that just stuck with you.
Yeah.
And then years go by, and then hello, Lord says, "Hey, God redeems. God wants to work. He wants to make this happen that you guys are able to get married."
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that is, praise the Lord for that.
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel that is so cool. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So, yeah, we start dating, and she has 3 daughters, and then I have my 2. And so we get talking one night, and I said, she goes, "What do you want to do here?" And I said, "Well, I'm not here for a high school reunion or a cup of coffee." I said, "What are you doing for the rest of your life?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "What?" And so I said, "Okay." So we dated a couple more months. Now I think we're in 2010, and spring. It was spring. It was after Christmas, spring. So I got talking to the oldest daughter, which I knew she was. I knew her because my wife had her just outside of high school, and I would push her in a stroller around the neighborhood and stuff like that. So I knew her, and I said, "Hey, can I marry your mom?" Now her dad's not in the picture. Middle daughter's dad's not in the picture, and she was like, "I would love that." She said, "Would you please?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, but your mom's gonna say yes. so I made sure I asked all the kids first, my kids and hers. So yeah, so we so I tell my wife, I said, hey, let's go to Mommy Bay, her favorite spot. That was one of our first dates. And steps over there where the water come in, I bust out a ring and asked her to marry me under the moonlight.
Wow.
And so we dated just over a year, and then we got married.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Playing no games?
Yeah, we weren't playing no games. So I went and did and talked to her dad and did the whole interview with dad, asked dad, like, I knew I messed up before. It was messed up. I didn't want to repeat that type of stuff. That's the type of guy I am. One mistake is enough. 2 times you're a fool. So went and asked her dad, did the traditional, man. And he said, yeah, you can marry her. Just remember, no refunds. So here we are today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's a lot.
There's a lot to think about. What you think brought you? Because as you know, as I think about your shoes, obviously you've been through some things, and just working through all that. It's like you know, I mean, I just can't imagine that process of how you get to it. How did you feel that you became confident enough to say, okay, I know I made some mistakes, but I know like God is a good God that redeems and he forgives. What helps you get to that place of like, I want to marry you and I know this is right. I know this is the Lord. Was there things that helped you with that?
Yeah. So I seen how she was being a single mom. I knew her family like for years. They would invite us in. I mean, they had the normal, tiffs, you got daughters and whatever, and dad comes home and he's tired from work, whatever like that. But it was always good to see them in church and how they were involved, and then how my father-in-law helped raise his first grandchild when she was a teenager herself, and her heart and her the pureness and everything she brought to the table, man.
Yeah.
And I said, I want that. I want my family to look like that. And then got involved talking to pastor about things and how life could be and what marriage looks like, and got linked up with some people, and I said, I want that. It was pretty much, I'm all in. I'm not dipping my toes in, like, okay, I'm diving in.
Yeah. Right.
What was your viewpoint, or like what was your perception of marriage? Because you come from past relationships, she comes from past. What did you see moving forward at that point?
I didn't want to be like my parents. They were work, kind of silent at home, just the traditional stuff. Not too much outgoing things. My grandparents, man, I just watched a whole house of love, and so my grandmother was always sickly, as we knew growing up. She had emphysema and arthritis bad, and I watched how my grandfather would take care of my grandma, and even when he's having heart attacks and stuff like that, like they would have been married 50 plus years had he not passed away. So they started when they were young, and all the hard times that they went through. And I was like, I want that. I can do this. When we brought the kids together to watch the kids gel together, and just the laughter and the things. We moved into a big farmhouse. So we had like 10 acres and cornfields. It wasn't ours, but it was ours to live in. We rented it. And, just to see all those things, and then being involved in church and being saved. I mean, that's when I knew, okay, God's got me and I got this.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah, you got that confidence, as some people would say, confidence guy, like he just that pure confidence. Let me ask you about the blended family aspect.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is a whole big topic, because you got on her side, your side, and then you guys have a child, your little guy,
Yeah.
which is great. Lovely little boy it goes, that hangs out with our son. How is that? How do you see God work in that?
Yeah. So started picking up on families in the Bible. Like God was literally showing me as I'm walking through the Bible. I was like, because you hear, oh, blended families don't make it, and all the stigma, the statistics of what the world says, and second relationships are lead to divorce and more likely all
Yeah.
these things. And I was like, well, I don't think that. I said, I think, Jesus saves and he can do things. So I started reading and seeing, Abraham and stuff. I was like, wait a minute, that's a blended family. These
Yeah.
are blended families.
Mm.
So I started asking God, are blended families designed by you? Because I see a lot of them in your word. I see a lot of it through the story, and I see how they come through, and I see the lineage leading up to Jesus. Like, that's all blended families.
Mm.
So, um,
Was there a specific story that you kind of like stuck to?
it was mostly Abraham,
Because of
Sarah and
Sarah.
Hagar.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And then you had Lot come in there, and you had all those things, and
Oh yeah.
how he still took care of him. So I got looking at that, and then I was like, and then what else helped out was so my daughter and then my middle daughter were already friends in school.
Oh,
They went
wow.
through the same school from
Yeah.
kindergarten up. They knew each other. And then our two little ones at the time, youngest daughter, and then my oldest son now at the time, they just gelled like brother and sister. They were little. They were 4 and 3, 4 and 2, something like
Wow.
that. So they just started
Yeah.
jamming out together.
Mhm.
My son he's 19 now. For the longest time, would always ask my father-in-law, "Did you feed me with a bottle?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, I did. Yep,
Mm.
changed your diaper." Accepted him in, and we never put a label of step on anything. That was one thing we decided on. I said, you don't have to call me dad, but I want to be that dad role in your life. Knowing their backgrounds and stuff like that.
Wow.
I want to fill that gap. Always felt like that was a calling in my life to younger people. I mean,
Yeah.
even through other things I did in life, I did coaching of youth sports and stuff, and always gravitated to be that role model, be that guy figure in a child's life. So
Can we scale that back one?
Yeah.
You said you never use the word step. Where did you learn that from? Or did you believe like that created a gap and I'm like, that's not going to have a foothold in my home? Like we're going to band together through this type thing.
yeah. So when I was in the court system and stuff and fighting for my son and daughter more time, they would always throw something up. Like, my son would call my wife Ma, just out of habit, or they'd say Dad. Well, the court was like, you can't say that. Like the system says in written verbiage that you're not supposed to do those things and that. And so while I was going through the court system, I said, wait a minute, aren't we for the betterment of the child and what that is? Well, yes. And I said, then why do you put a label on them? Why I said, a label is limiting. I said, whether you look at a shirt or anything on ingredients on anything, it limits to that's what it is. I said, so how would you ever grow a family when you put limits and walls and boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
So I went against the grain. I took a minority position, and in court, I was like, okay, we won't do that. These are my
Mm-hmm.
stepkids, da 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 da. But in at church and everything, it was, no, these are my kids,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no questions asked after that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
beautiful.
I think that it kind of ties into this theme of fatherhood, that our God looks and he sees and he doesn't give us like you're my stepkid or you're my problem child or you're my, I just get it. I mean, I just get emotional just thinking about that, how God sees his kids, he's this ultimate father to us. And then I think what you said, Mike, with, we're not stepfathers here, I think there's probably a lot of people listening, like they use that title. And I think there's just that it's you're hiding behind that title and you're not um, giving that child what they really need,
right.
And I think, with God and who he says we are, his made in his image, and, that we're adopted by him, we're his. And I think I think that's a remarkable thing. I really like that, Mike, that you thought about doing that. And I think that just kind of sets the tone of what your family stands on, because, you really care about your kids, whether they're yours or not yours, or, I think that's huge.
And that was the thing too. So we bought in that we were going to be a Christian family. We were going to be Christ followers. And there's struggle and all that things going on. I mean, you argue and fight with them, and sometimes you got to drag them to church and whatnot like that. But, like you said, that's one of the other things that got me when I did a deep dive was that we're adopted into God's family. But nowhere could I find that Jesus calls me his stepson.
Nope. He ain't got no grandkids.
He calls me his. He calls me his son. And I said, well, I'm married to your mom, and we're a family, and you're my daughters.
Point blank simple.
And I birthed you over here. I'm your dad. And she is your mother figure. She's your mom figure. And that's how we did it. And
I feel like that's so unifying, because I feel like a lot of times it's like, well, those are your kids. And you hear that language kind of pointing fingers and fights and stuff like that. Well, if your kids didn't, whatever. And I think that a lot of blended families probably struggle with that so much because of its innate or in blood. It is divisive, but you're using language to try to be inclusive. And I think that a lot of families get caught in that. And that can be so incredibly hard and damaging, right?
Yeah.
And then you're still trying to build your marriage to be one. And did you guys ever battle that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we dove right in. Like, already there's kids there. We're newlyweds. And then, bam, my oldest daughter gets pregnant at 15. So now we have grandson.
Wow.
So now we have grandson. We're navigating high school. We have little ones that are toddlers, coming out of toddlers, being in kindergarten. So we're navigating all this thing, and we're trying to build a marriage. Yes. So we're neck deep in it.
Yeah. I think it's eyeball.
Yeah.
Neck deep.
I probably had a snorkel, was breathing out of the water. Yeah, because we're there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But through it, we're growing. We're doing the thing we love. We're working. So at this time now, I'm on days. We're working. We're coaching some youth sports. We're going to church twice a week. We're involved in church.
Wow.
So we're doing all these things, and we're building into each other. So yeah.
Speak more into that, because I think sometimes you, as family, sometimes you could settle, you could sit back, get kind of comfortable. But when you say growing, you're growing. Well, for you, is that like an intentional thing? Is that how you get to that idea?
So I wanted the best for all of them, knowing all their backgrounds. Everybody's got a broken home.
Mm-hmm.
How does that look to fix it? Can it be fixed?
Mm.
How do we go forward? So we just start diving in little things, being in community groups, getting some support on the other side, all through church. Then we meet some sports families that are involved in church and watch how they were married and brought their kids together. We started doing things too that we never got to experience. So me and my wife, she took a vacation with her mom and dad and kids. That's how she vacationed up until the point that we got married. I never had a vacation other than I think the last one was junior high.
Wow.
And we knew the kids never got to go anywhere. So we loaded up the van and took them all, and we went to Myrtle Beach.
Wow.
Was our first vacation, and let them experience that and a family life. And I think really that part of us taking a full family vacation together like that, and for them being the first time without their grandparents and all that, it was just us really put a bond together to grow our family.
Yeah.
And then me and my wife, spending time in prayer, spending time in the Word, getting counseled by pastor, getting counseled by our pastor friends that lived in North Carolina. I mean,
yeah,
we're just trying to tap everything.
Yeah, you seem very intentional. I mean, obviously, I'm seeing what's on your calendar, like very intentional moves to strengthen, because what's good and right, what's pure. You're seeking out the holiness of God for your lives, and so putting those rhythms and those things. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably difficult. I'm sure some of the things that you guys had to deal with co-parents and the such.
Yeah.
But you guys had to be tight and just go after the Lord, it sounds like, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the saying, but God, because there was some dark moments in our marriage. I mean, there was some very, very dark times where we could have threw it in, but God wouldn't allow it. It seemed like every time we were like just ready to give up with everything going on, you're raising a grandkid, you're doing this, you're trying to build a marriage, and you're ready to throw in the towel to say, would it be better? But it never was.
Yeah.
Because it was then repeating the cycle, and then that cycle never gets broken.
Yeah.
So how much more damage are you going to do to these kids? Especially in this day and age now, but, yeah, man, God brings us through. I believe today we are stronger than ever. We're unbreakable. Our marriage verse was out of Ruth that your people will be my people, and what God enjoyed together, let no man separate. And we live on it. It was prayed over us that over our whole family. We had a base built, and the kids all put their colors. They chose different color sand, and it started from the oldest to the youngest, and then me and my wife on top, and then they sealed it, and it was prayed over that 3-cord strand is not easily broken. That no weapon formed against it will prosper.
Yeah.
And they go their separate ways. They do their things, but in the long run, we're a family, and we're rolling into year 17 here.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Most people don't make it. Was just sitting a few weeks back ago with my wife and said, we can make it to 50 years marriage. Like, it's not out of touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would be 81, I think, 82.
Yeah.
And Lord willing, and creek don't rise. I
Man.
think I'll be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mike, I gotta say, man, it's just I just see so much beautiful redemption in all those facets and the ups and the downs. I think this is a good way to land a plane. I think this has been it's been simple, but it's so rich just to hear you share just your story, and never to neglect your story, and how God still uses he can use anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't waste the opportunities that you think like, oh, I messed up there, but it can, he'll turn that around. That's just so good. What would you say, I think, to a young dad or two fathers out there that maybe dealing with a blended family? I know it's a lot of questions. You think dealing with being a part of a blended family, or just having a tough time as a man?
Yeah, so I would say this first on the redeeming quality. So going through all that, we never had a child overall. And we were prayed over in year 2 of our marriage that we would have a child. So my oldest daughter had another child, and we were coaching sports, and then we became youth pastors. Went down the line. My wife had a few false pregnancies. One was a miscarriage. So we kind of just let it ride and was like, okay, this is it. Our youth kids are it. Our kids that we coached. Yeah. 2021 came along, and God said, here you go.
Surprise, surprise.
He'll be 4 this August. And another boy that I get a chance to raise into a man.
Yeah.
It broke the cycle, the generational curse. No more broken homes, no more divorce, no more court systems. So I would say to the men out there that wherever your role is, uncle, father, grandfather, stay in the fight.
Yeah.
Get linked up with some brothers. Don't be a lone wolf. Don't rely on your own wits. Be humble, ask questions, and keep asking them. Mentor up with some older guys that can help you along the way. Get yourself in a good Bible-believing church. Get you with a good pastor that'll shepherd you and lead you towards. And read. Get you some podcasts. Get you some books. An amazing book that I read and still diving into and digesting is called Intentional Father, and it's by John Tyson. It'll wreck your whole world. And it talks about 4 different fathers, but be the intentional one. However God designs that. And embrace it.
Embrace it. Yeah. That's a great word. Yeah. Amen, bro. Embrace the goodness of being a dad. There's nothing like it. And I mean, on my end, I'm just blown away being a dad as well.
It's almost like they're there to teach us more than we are to teach them sometimes, Like their love is so pure and so, I don't know, their view on life is just as it comes, Like it's not been tainted. I don't know. It's so cool.
Do you have any last thoughts, Kai?
No, I'm blown away. I mean, just to hear what God has just done time and time again, over and over again. He's after you. He's breaking things off of you. He's rewriting the story for your lineage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was right at the teetering moments, right? Like this one will not get away from me. Meaning you. This one, from moving forward, this line of men will not be like the ones before it. It'll take the good and keep trucking, but moving forward, these will be men of Christ moving forward. And I just think that's a beautiful thing to see and to hear, and to even hearing the pain in your voice, the things you got to walk through to get to that point. It's truly remarkable that you stood by the Lord, and in that jail cell is where you became free.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yep.
That's what's up. Man. It's good. We lost video, but it's okay. Man, thanks, Mike, for sharing. That was probably tough, pretty vulnerable too, man. It's
but it's freeing. And I tell you what, if it helps one person, it's worth it, man.
Amen.
It's worth it.
Amen.
Men, we need you. Stay in the fight. You're built for this. And link arms with some brothers, and
that's right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Shoot.
It's been another episode.
It's been good. Till another time. This is White Chocolate. We out. Peace.
Good night.
Night.